This video introduces the Retail Network Report designed to help retailers build higher revenue, lower cost networks. Imagine knowing which locations have additional untapped revenue potential and which ones don't, and why. This report is powered by our Thinking in Layers digital twin retail model, the latest technological advancement in location intelligence. Figure 1 is a summary of the performance of a retail network inside the context of its industry, the A&W fast food network in this example. The table on the right provides a list of competitors, while the smaller inset graphic divides the A&W network into three revenue potential categories. High revenue sites are in the top third, average sites in the mid third, and low sites in the bottom third. The larger graph compares the top and bottom revenue divisions for all American fast food competitors. On the bottom axis, we have the percent of each retail network in low revenue sites, while on the vertical axis, high revenue sites. The crosshair lines indicate the average for all competitors. In this example, the A&W network is slightly below average with 18% in the top third, 40% in the bottom third. The bottom map shows the A&W locations across Canada. Figure 2 is a performance summary of the A&W network. The top table is a summary of trade area supply and demand conditions along the top row, which in turn creates specific network optimization actions on the left column. For example, high potential, low competition refers to trade areas in the top one-third of revenue potential and the bottom one-third for competition. These trade areas typically create the best opportunities for expansion. Note that the first part of the action indicates whether the site is a candidate for expansion or keeping the site fresh, maintaining it, or downsizing it, while the second part is part of the rationale. On the far right of the table, low potential and high competition creates cluster traps. Cluster traps occur when businesses mimic their strategy of their competitors by locating where they are. This often creates sites with too many retailers for the size of the market. A&W has almost half of their network in cluster traps, where high competition makes it difficult to grow the business, and yet it often doesn't make sense to close it either and give market share away. The bottom table provides additional detail by showing network actions across trade area types on the top row. Trade area types are based on size and levels of competition ranging from large regional to small neighborhood. In this example, A&W only has two potential expansion opportunities in regional and community-sized trade areas. Figure 3 is like Figure 2, except that instead of looking at trade areas inside the A&W network, it looks at the trade areas outside the network. It identifies the overall capacity of a retail brand to grow across the country. For example, the top table suggests that there are 1,167 potential opportunities for expansion in Canada where there is high revenue potential and low competition. The bottom table provides additional detail telling us they are primarily located in neighborhood trade areas, the same ones too often missed by traditional location methods. Figure 4 focuses on a more qualitative view of the A&W retail network. The top table compares the relationship between consumer sentiment and awareness to network actions. Brand sentiment is measured using Google review ratings and brand awareness with the number of Google reviews, which are benchmarked against other competing brands. The bottom table allows a retailer to analyze its demographic strategy. It shows the number of trade areas where the A&W network is ranked in the top third of each demographic variable. For example, A&W is in a total of 973 trade areas, and 342 of them are high and visible minority, which is about 35% of their network. Furthermore, the number of trade areas in the far right cluster trap category doesn't change significantly between demographic variables. This suggests that, with some minor exceptions, demographics don't play a large role in A&W's current site strategy. Instead, the most obvious strategy is that they are locating where their competitors are. This is hurting the profitability of the A&W network. Figure 5 provides metrics at the individual site level. The first couple of columns define the location. The third column, competitor counts. The fourth, the adjusted market size. Adjusted means that consumer spend is adjusted to account for consumers living in the trade area, but purchasing goods and service outside the trade area. The next column is the network optimization action, and the last 9 colored columns are percentile scores of specific variables between 0 and 100, benchmarked against all trade areas in Canada. The first 2 columns indicate the revenue potential for 2 previously selected retail categories. In this example, fast food American in the first column and fast food total in the second. A score of 75 means that revenue potential in the trade area is higher than 75% of all trade areas in Canada. A value of 50 means it's average. The next two columns are supply and demand input scores into the digital twin model. The competitive size score is the supply side, and the adjusted market size score is the demand side. The visibility score is a measure of the total number of households living in the trade area, and therefore the higher the better. The last four columns are part of the brand metrics. Brand sentiment is defined as the average Google rating, and brand awareness the total Google review count. The first two columns are for A&W, and the last two columns for the total trade area. Scores are benchmarked against all competitors in the retail category across Canada. The comparison of scores between A&W and each trade area provides additional rationale for the actual performance of a site. For example, a lower A&W sentiment score compared to the trade area would likely signal lower sales performance and additional revenue potential, and vice versa. Figure 6 provides the raw demographic data for each trade area in the A&W network compared against the provincial average. For example, the A&W trade area in Selkirk, Manitoba has an average age of 43.4 years, which is 9% higher than the provincial average of 39.7 years. This puts this location in the 82nd percentile, or put another way, 82% of trade areas in Manitoba have a lower average age. This report provides a full trade area analysis to help retail brands build high revenue and lower cost networks.